What is happening in Orchard Park right now is not business as usual, and the rest of the NFL is starting to take notice. The Buffalo Bills are in the middle of a calculated, aggressive off-season push that is designed to do one thing and one thing only: put Josh Allen in a Super Bowl before his prime window closes. The franchise is making roster moves that are dividing opinions inside league circles right now. Some people are calling the approach genius, others are calling it reckless. And right in the middle of all of it, a report has emerged that is genuinely wild enough to stop you in the middle of whatever you are doing and pay attention. The Buffalo Bills have been linked to a potential play for Justin Jefferson. Yes, that Justin Jefferson. The best wide receiver in the entire National Football League. And while the logistics of making that kind of move seem almost impossibly complex, the desperation and the urgency behind it tells you everything you need to know about where this franchise believes it currently stands and how far it is willing to go to finally bring that Lombardi Trophy to Western New York. Let us start with the honest context, because the Justin Jefferson conversation requires full understanding of the circumstances driving it. Josh Allen is 30 years old. He is entering his 9th season in the NFL. He is the consensus best player in the entire league right now. He has been to multiple AFC championship games. He has never played in a Super Bowl. And every single person connected to the Buffalo Bills organization, from ownership down through the coaching staff and the front office, understands with painful clarity that the window that opened when Allen became a legitimate superstar is not going to stay open forever. This is the year. This is the moment. And the question the organization is asking itself right now is whether the current roster construction is aggressive enough to actually get over the top. Gary Davenport of Bleacher Report lit the fuse on this conversation by stating that Buffalo should consider making an extreme offer to the Minnesota Vikings in an attempt to sign Justin Jefferson. And before you dismiss the idea entirely, stop for one moment and actually consider what putting Justin Jefferson on this offense alongside DJ Moore would mean. You would be giving Josh Allen the two most talented receivers in the AFC at the same time. You would be creating a passing game that no secondary in professional football has the personnel to cover simultaneously. You would be building the kind of offensive nightmare that only comes around once or twice in a generation when a truly elite quarterback gets a truly elite collection of weapons at the exact moment when he is operating at his absolute peak. The football logic for pursuing Jefferson is airtight. The question has never been whether getting Jefferson would make this team better. The question has always been whether the price is worth paying. And the price would be genuinely astronomical. Jefferson signed a 4-year, $140 million extension with the Vikings in 2024 and has 3 years remaining on that deal. The Vikings have built their entire offensive identity around him. He is the player that both Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy are competing to throw the ball to every day at OTAs and minicamp. He is the non-negotiable centerpiece of a franchise that has genuine Super Bowl ambitions of its own heading into this season. The asking price for a Jefferson trade would almost certainly involve multiple first-round picks and significant additional assets. In the current NFL environment where teams have shown they are willing to pay enormous prices for elite pass rushers and defensive linemen, a similarly aggressive offer for the best receiver in football is not as insane as it would have sounded 5 years ago. The Myles Garrett trade showed the league that no player is truly untouchable when the offer is aggressive enough. But here is the reality check that Bills Mafia needs to sit with honestly. It is not happening. Not this summer. Not at this point in the offseason. Minnesota would need to receive a package so overwhelming that it would effectively restructure their entire draft capital situation for the next 3 years, and even then. The Vikings are not trading Jefferson because they have built everything around him and they believe they can win a championship with him in purple. What the Jefferson conversation actually reveals is the underlying anxiety inside the Bills organization about whether the current receiver room is good enough to support a genuine Super Bowl run. DJ Moore is legitimately elite. Khalil Shakir is one of the best slot receivers in the AFC. The core is solid. But is it Jefferson level? No. And that gap between what this offense has and what the very best offenses in the NFL have at the receiver position is what the Jefferson speculation is really about. So while the dream of Jefferson stays exactly that, a dream, what the Bills are actually doing to address the receiver depth situation is more grounded and more interesting than a blockbuster trade fantasy. Max Tomczak is back. The undrafted free agent wide receiver out of Youngstown State who joined the team in April was released a few weeks later as part of a roster move and has now been re-signed. Is getting another look from a Bills coaching staff that clearly sees something worth developing. His last college season at Youngstown State produced 70 receptions, over 1,000 yards, and 8 touchdowns at the FC's level. His agility test time of 4.01 seconds at his pro day was one of the fastest among all players in the draft class, regardless of position. At 6 feet tall with the build and the quickness to contribute in the return game on both punts and kickoffs, Tomczak brings a legitimate combination of attributes that makes him more than just a camp body. Bleacher Report's Christopher Knox specifically noted that Tomczak has a real chance of securing a permanent spot on the 53-man roster when cuts happen in late August. That is not hyperbole from a fan page. That is an informed analyst who covers NFL roster construction, looking at the Bills' current receiver depth chart and seeing a genuine opening for a player who has earned his opportunity. The competition at the bottom of that receiver room is real and it is not settled. Keon Coleman has the draft pedigree and the physical tools, but he also has the documented disciplinary issues and the disappointing production history that make his roster security far less certain than his draft position would suggest. Coleman was a healthy scratch multiple times last season and was a second-round pick who has yet to amass 600 receiving yards in either of his first 2 professional seasons. That is not the production profile of a player whose spot is guaranteed. If Tomczak shows up to training camp and outperforms Coleman in the drills and situations that matter, Joe Brady's staff is not going to protect Coleman's roster spot because of where he was drafted. There is also a broader conversation happening around the Bills' receiver room that the Tomczak resigning speaks to indirectly. Josh Palmer, who was brought in on a meaningful contract last offseason with the expectation that he would provide reliable veteran depth as a second or third receiver option, has been working off to the side throughout the offseason program, dealing with a lingering injury. The road back from whatever is limiting Palmer has been difficult, and his availability for training camp and potentially the early weeks of the regular season is a real concern. When you add that uncertainty to the Keon Coleman questions, the argument for bringing back Tomczak as additional competition and developmental depth at the bottom of the depth chart becomes clear. You cannot enter training camp thin at a position and assume everything will work out. Now let us talk about the Joey Bosa situation, because this is one of the stranger stories floating around the NFL right now, and it has specific relevance to the Bills for reasons that deserve honest examination. Bosa led the entire NFL in forced fumbles last season with 5 fumble recoveries, and he demonstrated during that stretch of production that he still has the ability to create havoc in an NFL backfield when healthy and motivated. His pass rushing ability, when his body cooperates, remains genuinely elite. The logical assumption heading into this offseason was that a player of Bosa's talent and recent production would find a new home quickly, and the most narratively compelling destination that kept coming up was a reunion with his brother Nick Bosa in San Francisco, where the two could anchor the defensive line together in a championship window that is very much open. But 49ers insider Matt Maiocco has thrown significant cold water on that idea. Maiocco stated he does not believe the San Francisco signing will happen, and he offered a specific explanation that changes the nature of the entire conversation around Joey Bosa's future. According to Maiocco, recent comments from Nick Bosa suggest that Joey is currently much more focused on golf than on finding a new team. And when a person connected to the inside of the situation is framing a player's off-season activity as being golf-centric rather than football-centric, the word retirement starts entering the conversation in a way that cannot be dismissed. Joey Bosa has dealt with a significant injury history throughout his professional career. He has earned substantial money at the highest levels of the sport. He has reached the point in his life where the physical cost of continuing to play professional football has to be weighed against the financial security he has already accumulated and the quality of life he could have without subjecting his body to the grind of an NFL season. That is a personal calculation that every player makes at their own pace, and for many players. The decision to step away comes quietly and without fanfare rather than with a dramatic retirement announcement. Bosa playing golf aggressively in June while teams are holding minicamp is not proof that he is retiring, but it is information. And it is information that teams around the league appear to be absorbing and factoring into their off-season plans. For the Bills specifically, the absence of any public attempt to bring Bosa into Buffalo is telling. The Bills need edge-rushing help. They lost Jordan Phillips and several other pieces from their defensive front. Bosa at his best would be an immediate impact addition to a pass rush that needs to be better in 2026 than it was in 2025. The fact that there has been no reported connection between the Bills and Bosa suggests that either the organization's read on his availability matched what Maiocco is describing publicly, or that the front office has decided to pursue a different strategic path for addressing the edge rusher need. Whether that path involves an in-house solution through the young players developing behind Gregory Rousseau and Aj Epenesa's replacement, or whether it involves a different veteran addition before training camp opens, remains to be seen. The overall picture of what the Bills are doing this offseason is of a franchise that is comfortable operating under urgency without allowing that urgency to produce panicked decisions. Trading multiple first-round picks for Justin Jefferson would be a panicked decision driven by fear of the window closing, not by the measured assessment of what this team actually needs to win a championship. Re-signing Max Tomczak and continuing to evaluate the receiver depth through competition is the rational approach. Letting the Joey Bosa situation play out without overpaying for an injury-prone veteran who may not even want to play is the rational approach. Monitoring the free agent market for edge-rushing help at a price that fits the cap structure is the rational approach. Josh Allen is the best player in the world. DJ Moore is a legitimate number one receiver who has been developing real chemistry with Allen throughout the offseason program. Khalil Shakir is elite in the slot. The defense, when Cole Bishop is healthy and C.J. Gardner-Johnson is playing with the energy he has shown throughout the spring, has the potential to be significantly better than last year. The coaching staff under Joe Brady is installing standards and building a culture that reflects what genuine championship contenders look like. This is a team that is genuinely built to compete for a Super Bowl right now without needing to make a desperate blockbuster trade. The Jefferson dream is fun to discuss. The Tomczak story is genuinely interesting. The Bosa retirement possibility is thought-provoking. But the core truth about the 2026 Buffalo Bills is that they do not need to mortgage their future to win the Super Bowl. They need to stay healthy, execute their offense at the level they are capable of when every piece is functioning, and play complementary football the way that championship teams do. The Lombardi Trophy has been waiting for Bills Mafia for too long. This is the roster and the moment to go get it. Bills Mafia, you know exactly what the comment section needs from you right now. Would you trade multiple first-round picks to bring Justin Jefferson to Buffalo? Be honest. Does Max Tomczak have a real chance to make this roster? And is Keon Coleman in legitimate danger of losing his spot? And do you believe Joey Bosa is actually considering retirement, or is this just a slow negotiation playing out in public? Drop every take you have got below right now, hit that like button, and subscribe to the channel because training camp is coming, and we are going to be right here when everything kicks off. Let's go Buffalo!